This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
(8:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lal Malavarachi and read by Indrani Sedanayake. The headlines. The Colombo Port City Economic Commission draft bill passed with amendments with a majority of 91 votes. 2,780 persons have tested positive for coronavirus today, increasing the total caseload to 154,123. The government decides to increase the number of PCR testing laboratories. The President emphasizes that understanding and building relations between South Asian countries should be enhanced. A scientific methodology will be introduced to fill teaching vacancies. News from overseas. Israel-Gaza fighting continues as truce hopes rise. The committee stage reading of the Colombo Port City Economic Commission draft bill has been passed with amendments in Parliament with a majority of 91 votes. The third reading of the bill was passed with 149 parliamentarians voting in favour and 58 voting against the bill. After presenting the amendments, Justice Minister Ali Sabri moved the Port City Bill for the third reading, and JVP MP Vijitha Herath had called for a division for the third reading of the bill. During the second reading, the government presented the bill with amendments at the Committee of the Whole Parliament. Amendments proposed by the opposition were rejected by the government. The opposition asked for a number of clauses to be recorded as opposed by the opposition during the committee stage. All political parties affiliated to the government have supported the draft bill during the vote, while members of the Samagi Jana Balavayagiya, National People's Power and Tamil National Alliance had opposed it. The Ministry of Health reports that another 2,780 persons have tested positive for coronavirus today. This brings the total number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country thus far to 154,123. Presently, 29,540 infected patients are being treated at hospitals and treatment centres across the island. Meanwhile, the total number of recoveries has reached 123,532. The total number of deaths due to COVID-19 infection in Sri Lanka has risen to 1,051. The government has decided to increase the number of PCR testing laboratories. Health Minister Pavitra Wanyarchi told the SLBC that the Cabinet has already given its approval to a proposal in this connection. Accordingly, PCR testing laboratories will be set up covering each district in the island. Attention has also been focused to continue their service 24 hours. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Now, EPF information and services through an SMS from HDFC Bank.
We continue with local news. Minister of Education, Professor Gil Pires, says that a scientific methodology will be introduced to fill teacher vacancies existing in government schools. Attention has also been focused to implement a proper teaching transfer policy in the country. A draft bill has been prepared in this connection. It is now being reviewed by the relevant stakeholders. Acting Solicitor General, President's Counsel Sanjay Rajaratnam will take over the country's next Attorney General. The Parliamentary Council that convened today approved the President's approval to appoint Sanjay Rajaratnam as the Attorney General upon the retirement of incumbent Attorney General Duppula de Oliveira. The Parliamentary Council convened today in Parliament under the patronage of Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abhiwardena. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Leader of the Opposition Sajith Premadasa, Minister of Fisheries Douglas Devananda and Parliamentarian Kabir Hashim attended today's meeting. The Parliament Council also approved the recommendation to reappoint Sanjeeva Jayawardena as a member of the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, the Parliament Council recommended the nomination of H. Jayantha Shantakumara Vikramaratne to the vacant post of a member of the Office of the Missing Persons. The Council also recommended Major General R.T.W.P.P. Fernando to the vacant post of a member of the Office for Repatriation, said the Secretary General. Next, we look at the main news story.
දැන් HDFC බැංකුවෙන් EPF ණයතොරතුරු හා සේවාවන් SMS එකකින්
රාජ්‍ය හා පෞද්ගලිකංශයේ රැකියාවේ නියුතු ඔබ කොහේ සිටියත් EPF ණයතොරතුරු හා සේවාවන් ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා කළ යුත්තේ EPF හිස්තැනක් නම හා ප්‍රදේශය සඳහන් කර 071 SMS එකක් එවීම පමණයි.
HDFC බැංකුව ඔබ අප සුරකින්න බැංකුව.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The main news story. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has emphasized that understanding and building relations between South Asian countries should be enhanced by considering the COVID pandemic and its impact. The President mentioned this while joining over video technology the 26th International Summit on Asia's Future, which commenced this afternoon at Tokyo in Japan. The President said that a large number of human lives have been lost due to the COVID pandemic, and it has a heavy impact on the world economy. The President pointed out that all communities should work with understanding and trust in a crisis situation such as this. Speaking on the Colombo port city, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that new laws will be introduced to make it attractive to investors, to make it easy for business. That was the main news story. Watchlight is up next.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
A look at Watchlight. The National Eye Hospital has informed patients that a date and time have to be reserved before coming for treatment. Several special telephone numbers have been introduced in this regard. The National Eye Hospital has said that it is not essential to arrive at the National Eye Hospital since eye clinics are being maintained at hospitals in all districts. Information on telephone numbers can be obtained by logging into www.slbc.lk, the website of the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. That was Watchlight. A bulletin of world news will follow. We take a look at the headlines. Israel-Gaza fighting continues as truce hopes rise. France's ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy goes on trial for illegal campaign funding. Science drill ship sets depth record off Japan. A senior Palestinian militant says he expects a ceasefire within a day or two. US President Biden tells Israeli PM Netanyahu he expects a significant de-escalation. Netanyahu says military operations will go on until calm and security are restored. New Israeli airstrikes hit Gaza as fighting enters an 11th day. Palestinian militants launch more rockets at Israel, but numbers are down. The fighting has claimed at least 230 lives in Gaza and 13 in Israel. Nicolas Sarkozy, former president of France, is going on trial for illegally funding his 2012 re-election campaign. Mr. Sarkozy, who denies the charges, stands accused with 13 other defendants over their role in the so-called Bimalion scandal. They allegedly overspent by tens of millions of euros on the campaign and hired a PR firm to cover it up. It is the ex-president's latest legal fight after being convicted of corruption earlier this year. The trial was supposed to start in March, but has to be postponed because a lawyer fell ill with COVID-19. A new deep ocean record has been set for a scientific drilling operation. Researchers working off the coast of Japan lowered a giant piston corer through more than 8 kilometers of water in order to pull the sediments from the seabed. It took 2 hours and 40 minutes simply for the equipment to descend into position above the ocean floor. The drilling exercise, mounted from the research vessel Kaimei, is part of a project to read the history of great earthquakes in the region. To end this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. Israel-Gaza fighting continues as truce hopes rise. France's ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy goes on trial for illegal campaign funding. Science drill ship sets depth record off Japan. That ends this bulletin of world news. Next we take a look at development news. Government has focused attention to grant financial assistance to low-income families to complete the construction of their half-built houses. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has advised the Urban Development and Housing Authorities to grant at least a sum of 100,000 rupees to each family who qualifies. That was development news. We take a look at sports news next.
Sports news is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neveyi.
Sports news. The remainder of the Pakistan Super League 2021 has finally been given the go-ahead to be played out in Abu Dhabi in June, a significant overnight turnaround after prospects from the future of the 6th season had begun to look gloomy. Yesterday, the Pakistan Cricket Board had deferred a decision on the fate of the season by 24 hours after they couldn't secure some critical exemptions from the Abu Dhabi government. England fast bowler Jofra Archer will have surgery on his troublesome right elbow on Friday. The 26-year-old had an injection for the long-standing problem in March and has played only 2 matches since then. He managed just 5 overs in the second innings of Sussex's draw with Kent last week. A time frame on his recovery is yet to be given in a year that includes the 2020 World Cup and the Ashes series in Australia. That was a look at sports news. Next is business news.
My wife always sets a full lunch table, even if it's just the 2 of us. She always expects people to drop by, like maybe the army.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan neveyi.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The central bank is inviting members of the public who have in their hand legitimately acquired foreign currency to open foreign currency accounts in the bank and deposit them. Sri Lankan citizens are allowed to hold up to $15,000 worth of foreign currency in hand if it was brought back from abroad as salaries after working, payments for goods and services, withdrawn their own forex account, or taken from a bank to travel abroad and not used. The central bank said a foreign currency account could be opened with the money, which will pay interest and also be used for future foreign travel or for permitted foreign currency transactions. People who already have accounts could deposit the cash in their banks and earn interest. That was business news. Next, we have a look at economic news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. Courtesy of saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Sri Lanka stocks close at 0.65% lower today, with LOLC Holdings, Expo Lanka and Commercial Bank pushing the ASPI down, brokers said. The Colombo benchmark all-share price index fell 47.44 points to close at 7,293.59. Turnover was 1.3 billion rupees, with 76 stocks gaining and 92 falling. That was economic news. Finally, we take a look at the weather report.
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The Met Department says showery conditions over the southwestern part of the island and the windy conditions over the northern and northwestern provinces are likely to enhance during the next few days. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle and Mathura and Puttalam districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at a few places in the eastern and Uva provinces during the evening or at night. That was a look at the weather report. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. The Colombo Port City Economic Commission draft bill passed with amendments with a majority of 91 votes. 2,780 persons have tested positive for coronavirus today, increasing the total caseload to 154,123. The government decides to increase the number of PCR testing laboratories. The President emphasizes that understanding and building relations between South Asian countries should be enhanced. A scientific methodology will be introduced to fill teacher vacancies. And news from overseas, Israel-Gaza fighting continues as truce hopes rise. That ends tonight's news broadcast.